Am I really
Whose
happy?
life are
What
you
do I
living?
want to be known
What
for?
is my
What is my
legacy? How can I
deepest
get
fear in
more?
life?
Hi, I'm Natalie Lemus, and this is my journey and lessons from my own life. The Journey. I'm about to share with you my personal journey on, how did I find happiness? When didn't I have it? When people thought that I did, and when I thought I should have it and I really didn't. Just wanted to give gratitude first off for giving me this opportunity to share with you my story, my journey, and for listening and for engaging. In 7th grade, one time I remember I was going to my locker and this girl, her name's Maddie, and she came up to me and she says, "Natalie, you're like a Barbie on Prozac." And I really liked the Barbie part and I didn't know what Prozac was. And I went home that day and I told my mom, I said, "Maddie says I'm a Barbie on Prozac." And first of all, I kind of didn't like the Barbie part because I'm not blonde. And so I always had this thing against Barbies, like my whole life. I wanted to be the protagonist, like I wanted to be the Barbie, but she was blonde and I didn't want to be just like the sidekick friend. I think her name was Kelly or something like that. But anyway, so I was like, "Mom, what's Prozac?" And, Maddie says I'm like on Prozac. And she says, "Oh, Prozac is this drug. I guess it makes you happy." And I said, "Well, I don't understand because I really am happy. Like, I'm so happy." And she says, "Well, Natalie, just because you smile a lot. You smile a lot, so people think you're happy." And I said, "I am." And genuinely, 13, I know for some people, it's like the worst year of your life. For me, it was probably one of the best years of my life, literally. I read this book. I've always been a little different. Like, I've always been somebody that has wanted to explore my inner journey, like my inner world. I've always written in a diary, a journal. I've always read books on elevating your consciousness when I was a kid. Hate me, love me, it's just the truth. So when I was 13, I wore this rubber band, like an actual rubber band, not a hair tie, like one of those brown ones. And I read this book called 7 Habits of Highly Effective Teens. Every time I had a negative thought or wanted to complain, also, I'm really dramatic, like extremely dramatic. If something was bad, it was like horrible. If something was good, it was amazing. And I've always been like that. I tended to kind of complain a lot. And so I noticed that about myself and I wore this rubber band, and every time that I complained or thought something bad, I would physically snap it so hard to train my brain to think positively. And I know this is so extreme, and anyways, that's just me. So I did that for about maybe a year and a half, and I can tell you that those years or year and a half was the happiest year and a half of my life. I felt like I was growing and I had this awesome mindset. I had a super amazing group of friends. I just felt like on the top of the world. So fast forward, I decide to go to Ecuador. My whole life, it was about becoming fluent in Spanish. Always, even before meeting my husband, I always wanted to become fluent in Spanish. So I packed up my stuff and I'll never forget it. The other day I was actually reading my journal from the day that I was sitting in the airport, and I was on my layover in, I want to say it was Atlanta or something like that. And I remember I wrote in my journal and I said, my goal for this experience is that no one in Machala, Ecuador would know that I'm from another country. That I would be so assimilated and so tied in, and I would speak Spanish so well, and I would understand the culture so deeply that I wouldn't be seen as an outsider. That was my goal, and that was my intention. Little did I know that that was really intense, and it would send me on one of the most difficult journeys of my existence. So I get to Ecuador, and I'm living with a host family, and I'm probably one of 2 people in the whole city with blue eyes. Nobody spoke English. I defend for myself. I was 18. Part of my desire and part of my mission to finding happiness was almost to lose it completely. I'm actually kind of realizing this right now, in this exact moment, that the way I found happiness was to completely lose it all. Like I said, this is my journey. It doesn't have to be yours, and I actually wouldn't want it to be because it wasn't that easy. So I was in Ecuador and I had a group of friends, I guess, or I'm not sure if they were friends or not. I still can't reconcile that to this day. And I was at a party and I was 18, and all of a sudden I'm having an experience and I was raped at that party by somebody that I knew at the party. And like my whole world closed in. Everything that I had thought about myself, everything that I had thought about mindset, and that 13-year-old girl that like snapped a rubber band when she had a negative thought, like it all just like disappeared. Like all of that like goodness and self-love, it just like died that day, completely died. And I didn't understand. Like I didn't understand because I had this belief that I create my world. And I learned that from these books that I had read when I was a teenager. Like these books told me, like Natalie, you create your world through your thoughts, feelings, and this is how you manifest things. And I believed very firmly that, even if bad things happened, like I somehow brought them to myself and that there were always lessons to be learned and all of this. And this thing that happened, it was like I couldn't reconcile it. I didn't know. It was so beyond like the realm of fitting into my paradigm. It like ruined me in that moment. And of course, I didn't tell anybody, right? Because I've just felt shame and like I could have stopped it, or it was my fault, or I was embarrassed. I was embarrassed. I felt isolated. I was in another country. Anyways, like things got worse from there. I wish I could tell you that like things got better, but they didn't. Actually ended up getting into like an abusive relationship with that same person because I don't know if you've ever heard of like Stockholm syndrome or like PTSD, but I had that. Things got even worse in that relationship until one night there was like a gun involved and some threats, and I was being monitored so heavily by this person that I was afraid to tell my mom, yet I knew like there was just this one little voice, like I said, the bugs and stuff. It was like that one little clarity point. Like I just knew I had to tell her that things were getting even more dangerous. And so I walked to this cabina, which is like a phone booth, and I called her and she was like, "How are you?" And I wanted to lie, be like, "Oh, everything's fine," And I feel like sometimes we do that, especially when we're in a dark space. We just don't even know where to begin. Like that's where I was. I didn't even know where do you begin? So, and at this point, she didn't know anything, just her mother intuition, her Jedi-ness. And, she knew in my voice. And she said, "No, something's wrong. Tell me what is going on." And I told her, I said, there was this night and a gun was involved and there were some threats made and I'm afraid. Like I'm afraid. And I just remember I started to cry and she said, "You're coming home." And it wasn't 2 days, 48 hours. And I went home totally unexpectedly, ripped from my host family that I loved and adored. And I still haven't seen them to this day. And sorry. And if they're watching, les quiero decir que no fue su culpa, que los amo y que me trataron como una hija y los aprecio muchísimo por lo que hicieron por mí y los voy a amar siempre and los extraño mucho. So I came back, and sometimes you think like, okay, so now I'm like not in the city anymore, right? Like I'm not in that environment. I'm back in the US, I'm back in Boise where there's not, violence, and I'm away from that relationship, and I should be happy now, right? And you already know that's not true. So then I felt the after effects of the PTSD, and I come home and I think that, I genuinely thought I was going to leave my problems behind. Like, I thought that I should just be happy because, like, I should be happy, right? And of course, you already know I wasn't happy, and I actually felt the after effects of it even more. And I decided to get 2 jobs and work 16 hours a day to not have to feel anything. Like, I worked at the Melting Pot as a server and a call center, and I think I did something else. I can't even remember. I just know that I kept myself so busy that I didn't have to think, I didn't have to feel, I didn't have to remember anything, and I could just pretend, because now I was pretending to be happy. It's not until like I had space, which is when I finally went to college, which is just a few short months after that, after coming home, and it just like all came up. I couldn't escape it. It was everywhere. And as much as I wanted to run from it, run from the trauma and the pain and the regret and the shame and just everything, it followed me like everywhere. This is part of the story that is really hard. Like, that saying, and I think it's kind of a dumb saying, however, it's true. Hurt people hurt people. Like, I started to become somebody that I'm not. I started to want to control like the person that I was dating at the time. I was so afraid and had so consumed by anxiety that I wanted to control them because I didn't want to be hurt in any way. Right now, I'm feeling the need to just like skip right to the happy ending, and it's not true. Because sometimes we have to have like a catalyst, like something that would help us heal, or like a defining moment that would set us off into the trajectory to where we know we need help. To where it's like we're not just acknowledging that, yeah, this is all coming up for me all the time and I'm just continuing to run from it. Some people run from their stuff their whole lives. I missed that person that I was. Like, I remembered her and I missed her so much. I wondered if I could ever be her again, or part of me wondered if it was a lie, like if that was fake. And I know it wasn't, because I lived it. And so I just started to just like delve into all this questioning and thinking. And so I start going to therapy. They had free counseling on campus, and what catapulted me to going was, well, let's just be real. Like, I was binge drinking my whole freshman year, just trying to hide. I was like, anything I could do to hide from all of this that wanted to just keep on showing up. So binge drinking, like just a lot of blackouts, and it was a really, really, really ugly time in my life. I still like did well in school. That's the weird thing though. That's like the dichotomy, was like I could still kind of like pretend that I was happy, and I would pass. Like, I would pass as a happy person no matter what, but I wasn't. Like, I was a fake. It was a show. I didn't know how to be happy, so I just acted like I was. I just remember this feeling, like the pain that I felt inside was so great that I didn't do it. However, I considered like self-harm. I considered it like, it felt like it would have been a better solution than just sitting there in the pain that I was feeling. And that scared me. That genuinely scared me. I was afraid of that, and I just thought, I need help. Like, I need genuine help. And I picked up the phone and I called the counseling office on campus. And I think like the very next day, because I think my message was probably pretty distraught, the very next day I was in counseling. I was in counseling for a year. So I went in with 2 questions. And I have to be, now I'm talking to you like as a friend, okay? So please listen. This is my journey, not anybody else's. So don't take these questions as they have to be your questions, or that they're the only right questions to ask yourself if you have been abused in any way, okay? You have to know that. Promise me, because these were my questions. This is my honest account of my journey. Now, my questions were this, 2. And I didn't research them or anything. I don't even know where they came from. It just Like I just remember the first day I was there, I said, I have 2 questions. 1, what in me caused me to attract this experience into my existence? What was it about me? Like, what beliefs did I hold, or what lesson lied within this for me? Like I said, my question, I'm so emphatic on this because this is a sensitive topic, and I'm no way, shape, or form I'm saying that like I brought this on or anything. However, that was just my question. Okay, are we good? Are we good? Good. And the second question was this: how can I become a person that this would never, ever happen to them again? Like, what type of person would I need to become so that I would never have this happen again in my life? And yeah, that was it. 2 questions, and it took me a year to figure out those answers, and I figured them out. And then I felt free. Like, it was 360 whatever day journey. Well, and from the moment it happened, so I don't know, maybe that's a 2-year journey or whatever. It was a relentless pursuit, like a relentless pursuit to finding that happiness again. And I can tell you now, though, that after that journey, I wasn't that 13-year-old girl with a rubber band anymore. And I was okay with that. I am okay with that, because that girl, she became stronger through what she went through. And I'm so proud of myself. Like, you guys, I overcame PTSD. I don't even want to like go back to that and tell you all of those things, because so many triggering things happened after that. I know some people are still struggling with PTSD, and I just have like, I don't know, 3 words, I guess. Never give up. Just don't give up. Don't give up. Stay in the game. Keep searching. Be relentless. Relentless on your path. Some days are going to feel like the darkness is just caving you in. Just search for that one little flicker of light and hang on to it. And the next day, search for another one. And the next day, just get up and search for another one. That's what I did. I rebuilt myself 1 day at a time. Actually, it wasn't even 1 day at a time. It was 1 hour at a time. All right. This video was intense. I know. Just want to thank you for listening. Thank you for being part of my journey, for witnessing my journey, and for also being willing to go on your own journey, because this isn't about just watching somebody else. This is about doing this together. And I like to say I stand for possibility. Like, I stand for possibility. So stand with me. Stand for possibility too. You're not alone. That's the other thing I want you to know, is that you're not alone. And that just because people don't talk about what they went through doesn't mean that it didn't happen to them. I've had the opportunity to share a few times, not a ton, a few times to live groups of people my story, and it's amazing and sad, you guys, how many people come up to me, men, women, it doesn't matter. Like, people come up to me all the time after I share my story, and they're like, that happened to me too. That happened to me too. That happened to me too. And just never give up, please. Never stop searching for that one little shred of light that you can find in your day. So if you think that this video could help somebody else in their journey, if you think that by sharing it or by commenting below and, sharing your journey with me and others that might read the comments would help, please comment, please share. The reason that I'm so open with my journey, it's not like something I ever thought of doing. This happened when I was 18. I'm 31 now. I know the power of one person's journey, and I'm willing to let it be my journey. If it can help one person feel that they're not alone, if it can help one person have hope that there is life and light and happiness on the other side, then to me, it's all worth it. It's all worth it. Let me know what you guys think.